Hello, this is Jacob, also known by Jabak on the internet. I was asked by a friend to go over kind of what I'm thinking as I play opponents and maybe a little bit of how to adapt or really understand what your opponent's game plan is. Today we're going to be listening to, let's do Tekken 4. I like that game. And I'm just going to show you a few replays that I played against King. I know a lot of people don't like the King matchup, and I just want to go over some experiences. I played maybe 5 or 6 different opponents on quick play earlier this morning, and most of them, I think all but one, were King actually. So I'm going to show you some games maybe against who I consider the best player that I played this morning, and go over some ideas. I will see you in the first game.
Get ready for the next battle.
So this is our Tekken King opponent. I'm just going to kind of let this one play out in its entirety, and then in the second game, we're going to go over kind of what I'm adapting. We're going to do a little synopsis at the end, but I want to keep this running because the first couple takes of this video took 35 minutes, so I'm trying to keep it a little bit more brief than that. The sound, the auto soundtrack from Tekken 4 for this stage is kind of crazy, to be honest.
Round 2. Fight.
So already we can kind of see our opponents down to send buttons. They're not really afraid of block punishment. Which is kind of good for them because I kind of suck at it in this game. Another brief thing we'll go over as time goes on here is kind of how King's throw mix-ups work, and really I find easier ways to tech against King opponents. Mostly what I'll say is that when a King player is going for a throw tech, always break the easiest one for him. What I mean by this is that if he's really close to you, instant Shining Wizard is harder than Giant Swing, especially after a buffer. And if they are far away from you, run up to you in Giant Swing is way harder than Shining Wizard while running. So really I would usually advise just teching the easiest one and making sure your opponent has to show you that they can do the other one. Also, I have no idea, maybe we could say in the comments, do you guys see this sort of gameplay from King very often? I haven't seen a whole lot of whatever he's doing with this back turn shenanigans stuff. Probably the first King I've ever seen pulling, at least having it this much of a staple in their arsenal. Also, a little unfortunate that I didn't even get the grounded hit off there. I always think it's a good idea to check the tech against King. I will also say that sidestep here, no, over here, was the right idea. I went the wrong way. It's a little unfortunate, but if I would have went in the foreground, I would have been able to step it. Thank God he dropped it. So what I was checking for here, this is kind of Brian exclusive, so I kind of keep it to a minimum. Your low counter hit launchers are really good against muscle armor. And if they're going to spam muscle armor, make sure you get those incorporated in your game so when they accidentally press it, because they will press it, you launch their dumbass. So we're going to go to the next game, and we're going to go over a little bit of adaptations to their playstyle. I think we saw what this King's up to. Let's see how we adapt. I'll see you in that game. All right, we are back. Let's see how we can make our changes here. Nice start. Down back 4. Atlas hammer. Okay, he's crazy. Nice combo to start. Nice interrupt from our opponent. So, my philosophy that always tech the easier throw would have worked 100% of the time so far. Nice slow parry from our opponent. And they win round 1. I'm still trying to piece together what they're trying to do on offense, because I'm really not very familiar with how this King's using their moves, but I'm trying to figure it out. Deal with things one at a time. I'm trying to figure out if it's... But there we go. We made our first little adaptation. We're kind of getting a little bit more comfortable with what our opponent is using. Get a nice little whip punish there. That always helps the morale. Unlucky on the combo. So, another thing with King's muscle armor is he's got to send the follow-up pretty quick here. And so when they're using muscle armor as visual noise like this, they can get into trouble like this, where they armor something super late and it's got a follow-up, and he's kind of stuck because he pressed the follow-up and he got counter hit by the second one.
Round 3. Fight.
Funnily enough, I thought I whiff punished that in game. He got counter hit on some follow up here. I don't know. Whatever, it's fine. Funny to see. Man, me and my opponent are the kings of block punishment. Let's go. Everything's safe around here.
Round 4. Fight.
At least we get something. Nice little delay button. I thought I dropped this combo, so I popped heat, because I can't really risk not getting the floor break if I drop it, because it's king. So we win the next game. So we're gonna watch one more game. I think we got enough time for one more game, and then we're gonna do a little recap. So I'll see you in the final game. All right, here we go. Let's try to put it all together. There we go. We're getting a nice punish on 4-2-1. We need to make a little bit more of a conscious effort taking away a lot of these big buttons that my opponent is throwing out. There's down back 3 making an appearance.
Round 2. Fight.
Kind of risky from us. That is a high at the end. Nice giant swing again. We would have been 4 for 4 if we just blocked the or break the easiest throw. Happens. We should have just ducked and blocked it. I mean, ducked and punished it. Again, just kind of taking the game a little slower, giving our opponent opportunities to make mistakes. They're a very aggressive player, so odds are they're definitely going to make a decision here like that. Dropped it, though, unfortunately. Yep, giant swing. Okay, we blocked the easiest one. Same issue again with the 2-hit muscle armor. Here we go. We go to the grand floor break stage. Or floor bounce. We do check the tag. We get the floor bounce. Oh no. We break it. I'm not great with throws or chain throws. Nice low parry from our opponent. It's gonna be a tough comeback though. No gray light. And then go out on their feet there. 4-2-1, duckable high. I'm assuming they were going for some heat engager shenanigans. Maybe they clipped me with something. But really just our opponent only really used like 10 moves. And once we kind of made some adaptations to them, I think we really kind of took control of the game. And, offered a pretty straightforward victory as time went on. So the takeaways here is, just look at what your opponent wants to do because they're going to do what they want to do. So this guy really liked whatever that back turn stuff was, canceling into the mid counter hit launcher. It was a down 4-2, things like that. And he really kind of never went for jabs. The lows were always forward 4 neutral 2, so that's pretty slow. So kind of just stand blocking and waiting, we kind of broke some pretty good throws. We didn't break everything, but against King, it's always important to start somewhere. So those were the games for today. Just kind of, sharing my thoughts of, how to adapt and understand kind of what your opponent is doing. And I know King is a pretty unpopular character in the scheme of the people that play against him don't like him. And I hope this helps players like that. So I appreciate you coming on this journey with me today. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you.